Norman lectured in Madrid in the late 80s in the School of Architecture, and then we went for dinner, no, for lunch, sorry, to a fish restaurant where I remember even that he asked for lubina a la sal, because he felt that this kind of very simple preparation of the fish was a kind of metaphor for his own buildings. I also recall that when I started writing regularly in El País, that was in 1986, so a long time ago, my first piece was on the Hong Kong and Shanghai Bank, which I presented as a mixture of the Concorde and Feng Shui. So very futuristic on the one hand, but also very aware of the wise lessons of the past. Well, the birth of the foundation was based on the will by Norman and Elena, on the one hand, to protect its legacy, its physical legacy, the notebooks, the models for future generations, but also to have an impact on younger people. So it was not understood as a museum of the Foster collection, but rather as a place of research and as a place of education. At one point, we even considered calling it an institute instead of foundation. And it is essentially due to the drive of Elena and Norman, who from the beginning, pushed with great energy and determination the project. And it has had an enormous impact on the life of Madrid. It is indeed a privilege for the archives of Foster to be here, and the city is aware of it. Well, in fact, this archive has some sections which could almost be considered a museum, and they were curated by Norman and myself during a meeting several days in St. Moritz that we simply spent 8 hours every day working on the project. And even Norman canceled his training exercises for the ski marathon so that we could spend more fruitfully our time together. So it was a long and very intense effort. Well, Norman is an architect who has managed to have not only an audience among colleagues or students, but also among politicians and leaders. And this makes his role particularly significant because he can really change the way we approach the future. And of course, yes, I do agree that that cities are the best way to approach the climate crisis. And Norman, who started his career, with works that were not related to city proper. Sometimes they were in the outskirts of cities. He got a commission for the BBC headquarters in the center of London that was never carried out, but which produced an immense amount of work and projects. And with this project, I think that Norman learned to work in cities and I think learned to love cities. And of course, then with the Carré Act, and many others, this was expressed. But the beginning of this love story was, in my opinion, in the BBC never carried out project. Well, in the public sphere, of course, Hong Kong and Shanghai was a turning point for the office and for many things. But there are other buildings which have been absolutely critical. For instance, Stansted was his first airport, and a work which has influenced subsequent projects of airports. So no other airport after Stansted could be the same. And of course, he has done amazing cultural projects. Some of them were very attentive to the lessons of the city, like Carré d'Act in Nîmes, and others with such a heavy political and ideological weight, like the Reichstag, which of course make them works which are already in not only in the history of architecture, but in the history tout court.